So Starfield is the game that has everybody talking, and it's clear by looking online that this game is a mixed bag. It was touted and being hyped as the game of a generation, and if it doesn't hit that mark, a large portion of the online gaming audience, just from my perspective, calls it trash. I'm here to wade through all the bullshit and give you guys my honest thoughts on the game after spending close to 30 hours in the early access portion of the game. This video will be spoiler free, and most of the footage in the video is from my live stream where I have shared every second of my game time so far. So if you want to go see that in full alongside other shenanigans like Mr. Todd Howard himself joining in on the fun, head over to my Twitch channel. Starfield is massive. Like, impressively large in scale, and I'm not just talking about the sheer number of planets and solar systems, but the actual gameplay systems. You have an in-depth character customization system, skill trees, weapon modding and crafting, ship customization, the ability to dock and board vessels, commandeer ships, interact with a ton of NPCs, smuggle cargo, bounty and monster hunting, joining factions and completing quests for gear, special quests to unlock ships, and a main story that feels like it was inspired maybe by The Force Awakens a little bit, but set in a sci-fi aesthetic that reminds me of when I was a kid and what I thought space looked like. I have 30 hours in the game, and I haven't even scratched the surface of the scratch of a surface. It's honestly just insane. But I want to start with visuals. No, this is not the best looking game that I've ever played. The environments when you play on Ultra look pretty damn good considering the scale of the game. NPC faces still have that dead-eyed Bethesda style to them, and honestly, I wish we could have gotten a bit more visual quality when it comes to this, considering talking to NPCs is a large part of the game. It's hard to talk about visuals without going into the aesthetics of the package, which I adore. It's got that modern NASA vibe, and when you combine the filmic grain, which I usually hate, but in this game I actually find that it works well, combine that with the soundtrack, and the whole package comes together for me for this space opera, even if it looks a bit dated. I seen a review from Worth a Buy who compared this game to the upcoming Modern Warfare 3 in terms of its visual quality, and while I can agree that Modern Warfare 3 looks more visually impressive, Modern Warfare 3 doesn't have a tenth of the content and scope that Starfield has. Weapon models, they look good. Ship interiors, in my opinion, look incredible with so many little details inside that I sometimes just find myself walking around and just looking at everything, looking at how the doors work, looking at what's on these shelves in whatever room you're in. I think for what Starfield tries to do, these visuals are more than good and not really a concern for me. What is a concern for me though is the optimization. This game is massive, but if you're playing on anything less than Ultra, those visuals quickly drop alongside frame rates. I'm playing on a 12900K, 64 gigs of RAM, and a 3090 Ti, damn near top of the line system at 1440p, and I haven't seen anything over 60 FPS, usually hovering around 45 to 50, and I find that in this game I have to play with VSync enabled to get a consistent frame rate. If I'm not playing with VSync, I can range from 30 FPS all the way up to mid 80s and then dropping back down. It is ridiculous. I can't imagine what the console experience is like, but if you have a low-end system, you're going to be disappointed with the frame consistency and performance overall. At this point, I will take a consistent like 40 to 50 FPS as long as it's consistent, but it is still a pain in the ass. Now, seeing as Starfield is a space opera RPG, one thing you'd think Bethesda would have nailed is the storytelling. This is a weird discussion because I want to avoid spoilers, but I'll try to get through it. The story in this game is passable, if not a little bit boring, but what bothers me more is the illusion of choice. After playing just the little bit that I have of Baldur's Gate 3, I have to say that I've been a little bit spoiled when it comes to player choice and the way that interactions with NPCs change based on those choices. You choose to lie to someone in a conversation, another character picks up on that and changes their demeanor, or it opens up new dialogue options. You choose aggression here, and it might lead to other characters trying to either avoid intimidation, or maybe they're more aggressive with you and it opens up different dialogue options for that. Or if you kill an NPC that has a vital quest or dialogue in Baldur's Gate 3, Well, good fucking luck, right? Not in Starfield. The player gets greeted usually with 4 choices of dialogue every prompt, and honestly, after 30 hours, none of this matters. The NPCs always fall back to the same lines, and honestly, these are linear stories. The side quests, the main quests, it's all linear that are railroading you to the outcome that the writers wanted anyway, and after a while, it just becomes very transparent. There is no reason not to choose the top choice response because that will get you to point B the fastest. Even when it comes to doing things like persuasion, it kind of just seems like the choices don't really matter. A ship wide, should we just wait till he returns to his cabins and falls asleep? That's a good idea.
Maybe, but if something goes wrong and he's able to raise an alarm, we're sunk.
Okay.
With all of these wealthy patrons aboard, the ship is crawling with security.
Okay. A ship-wide emergency might do the trick. Like, sure. Hey guys, I'm going to click this one and he's going to tell me no. And then it's just going to end up on the top choice. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's smart. Kill Vera or anyone else involved in his conspiracy, and then Dombrowski heads for the hills. There has to be a safer way.
There has to be a safer way. The only way. Bethesda has been doing this for years and it's just kind of become tiresome. Just tell me the story with better cutscenes instead of this weird NPC face-to-face dialogue conversation that truthfully doesn't matter. Even when you have backstory options like being a neon street kid, at least in my experience, that doesn't matter either. It doesn't open up any more options for dialogue. The NPCs just respond a little bit differently to whatever option you choose, and then they get right back to the main line that they need to hit to get the story beat going. It's honestly very disappointing. What's not disappointing in this game, and I know this is going to be a little bit controversial, is the combat. This is the best Bethesda combat that I've experienced, and no, it's not Tarkov or Call of Duty, but for a Bethesda game, it's satisfying to shoot the weapons, maneuver around. Sometimes when you're in 0G, the shotgun, it like blasts you back into the air, so you have to control your thrusters. I actually like it a lot. What I'm not a fan of, at least in the early game, is the AI. They're fucking brain dead. For a studio this large, it's almost unacceptable. That being said, as you level up and you face harder opponents, it starts to get a little bit better and it starts to get more challenging. So you just have to remember this is an RPG first in that sense. And in the early game, you're fighting fucking bots. When it comes to space combat, now that I have the hang of it, I actually like that as well. Being able to thrust around, fire a bunch of missiles, and then you have kind of a semi-VAT system where if you spec into it, you can actually target certain spots on a ship so you can take out somebody's engines and then go up and dock and board onto their ship and take control of it that way. I actually am a huge fan of the space combat in this game. I know a lot of people are wondering if this is going to be a buggy Bethesda game, and honestly, I haven't experienced any game-breaking bugs at all. The worst bug I've experienced was this one enemy in this one security place. No spoilers. I shot him so hard he fell through the ground and then had to respawn next to me. Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what the fuck? Okay. Bro, you're getting stuck in every fucking wall in the building. All right. Make it make sense, motherfucker. Come on, Todd. And that is honestly it. I haven't experienced a single crash, and the only quirks we get are your basic Bethesda things where if you're talking to an NPC, another NPC might just be standing in the background trying to talk to you. It's a little bit weird, but nothing game-breaking.
A new drink that'll make this place famous, galaxy-wide.
Who's this lady standing in front of me? Totally a Bethesda, yeah, totally a Bethesda game, dude. Karen's just like, excuse me, I've been asking for napkins for 30 minutes.
You would love it, I guarantee. Only
this is there. Get out of here.
Right now. Like, all the
excuse me.
But it never showed up.
My food's cold.
The guy I hired me.
This chick is ruining the immersion, anything, dude.
But I didn't.
This is the most stable Bethesda game that I have played, I think, ever. One of the biggest issues that I have with the game though, and I think this drastically changes the player experience, is their navigation. When I play RPGs, I usually am one to mark a point where a quest is, go there, loot what I need to, kill what I need to, and then I head back to town where I have to hand it in. I'm a point A to point B kind of player, so for the first 20 hours of my time in this game, that's what I did. I started feeling a bit fatigued though, because I was kind of not seeing the space exploration of the game, and this is where I think Starfield is just a different animal. See, when I played Skyrim or Oblivion or The Witcher, heading to an objective was the adventure for me. You're boots on the ground, you're walking through paths, going through forests and caves, but when you're in space, a lot of it's handled through menus and planet maps and fast travels. One word of advice for players jumping in for the first time: use these menus as sparingly as possible. Fly around. Hail ships that are passing by you before they jump to the next system. Maybe do some piracy if you have the ability to, and just get immersed in the world around you. One thing Bethesda needs to streamline is you being able to travel and navigate outside of menus. It's hard to not just go to the star map, click on a planet, and then hold X to travel and land all at one time. But if you consistently do that, you go through the quest, you lose out on, in my opinion, the best part of a space game, which is the space. And I feel like everybody who is reviewing the game and saying that it is just loading screen after loading screen after loading screen, that's true. But if you spend more time just flying around, exploring, and getting immersed in the world, you avoid those loading screens just a little bit longer than you would if you were just going from menu to menu to menu. Now at this point in the game, I'm about level 18, and I haven't even touched ship crafting because I still don't know how to unlock new modules to add to ships. I don't really know if you can tear modules off one ship and put it on another. It's a very in-depth system that I haven't even attempted to dive into, and I haven't actually felt the need to. Really early on, I unlocked a quest line, which at the end of it gave me a new ship, and I've just been using that one, and it's a fucking beast. And that's the same with outposts. I haven't built a single one yet in 30 hours of game time. That's how much shit there is to do in this game, and I know it's not going to be for everybody, but if you're a fan of sci-fi and space games, I feel like this is one you shouldn't skip. Now, there's a lot of negative discussion around the game online, and I want to kind of weigh in on where I think a lot of people sit. To start off, I want to double back to the Worth a Buy video, his opinions on visuals and how he chose to compare it to Modern Warfare 3. I'm finding that a lot of the discussion around Starfield is a game of comparisons. Leading up to the launch, we saw that Starfield actually lacks inner orbit flight and planet traversal like Star Citizen. It was a huge thing on Twitter. You couldn't actually run to the other side of the planet and back. What happens when you land on a planet, it generates a square, a tile that you can run in, you can collect resources, there might be monsters to kill or outposts or whatever, and you're kind of limited by the boundaries. Now, I will say these squares are large, like they're huge maps, but it's not quite the planet traversal that people were expecting. We don't have that inner orbit flight like Star Citizen. I will say the lack of ground vehicles in the game is a little bit of a weird choice. There's been times where I've had to land somewhere and there might be an outpost 500-600 meters away, and you just gotta run, and that's it. It's a very weird call to not have some of these ships maybe equipped with like a vehicle bay, or maybe that's something you can unlock later. I know it's not in the game, but that would be cool if it's something you could work towards unlocking. The fact that they just omitted that from the game in general is weird. I find that the game lacks player freedom and real narrative choice like a game like Baldur's Gate, and to Worth a Buy's point, it lacks the visual quality of a next-gen title like a Modern Warfare 3 or like a Red Dead 2. But where I find that the game shines, the in-depth ship, weapon, and character customization, the skill trees, the story, albeit a little bit linear, is actually not bad. The managing of your companions is where a game like Star Citizen just lacks completely. Where the visuals in Starfield aren't on the level of Call of Duty does nothing to achieve the technological feat and advancement that Starfield does. It's a game of comparisons that everybody's doing, and even though this game might lack something that Star Citizen has, Star Citizen lacks on almost everything that Starfield does. And you can kind of say that for almost everything. Will this game be Game of the Year? Honestly, I think Baldur's Gate has got that locked up because that player choice is so critical and key to the RPG. And if Bethesda did that here, where it actually matters what you choose, they might have had a shot. And honestly, a big major concern that I had going into this game was when they said that you could basically join every faction in the game and play through every single set of storylines for those factions. One thing I enjoyed about the old Fallout games was if you chose to join in with a faction, that might have consequences and implications on other people and other NPCs in the game that might look at you differently. That was really cool because it made your choices actually matter. And in Starfield, it feels like it's kind of just a, no, do your own thing, choose your own adventure, but there's really just no consequences for anything that you choose. It all just feels very samey. And keep in mind, I'm 30 hours into the game. That might mean that I am at a different point in the story than you, and you might actually have a different experience than I do. And that's the one thing, it's very hard to review these things because somebody in the comments might have a completely different experience with the narrative than I do. But in my experience so far, that's just kind of what I found, and it's been very lackluster. I think even though the story is passable and a little bit boring, that delivery and how they give us the illusion of choice is what is really just souring and watering down the experience for me. I already know I'm getting hundreds, if not thousands of hours out of this title. But I also understand that there is a lot of valid criticism when you wade through all the bullshit console war discussion and everybody just trying to tear down the game because reasons. The game is good. It's not game of the generation. And I think that's where the conversation is now lying. I think the hype was so high alongside the caution that was so high because people were expecting disaster like Cyberpunk. And honestly, guys, it's not that. All things considered, it's actually very well put together. But because it's not Game of the Year, I'm finding a lot of people trying to tear it down, and I just find that a little weird. If you're a fan of Bethesda RPGs and you like sci-fi, you're going to love this game. If you're a fan of Star Citizen and you're looking for a space sim that gives you the feeling of Star Citizen, but with all of these other systems, you're probably gonna hate it. If you're looking for a game with the mass scale appeal of a game like Red Dead Redemption 2 with those kind of visuals, you're probably not gonna like this game. Honestly, after playing it, it's actually more of an acquired taste than I was actually expecting. But I'm having a blast playing the game. And if you guys have come through to the live stream, you can see that I am fully involved and immersed in the world. And now that we're starting to figure out the right way to play the game, at least for us, it's been a complete treat. I know there's a lot of differing opinions on this game, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Let me know, are you playing Starfield? Most of you guys are probably going to be picking it up on Game Pass, which means it doesn't cost you anything. I think picking it up on Game Pass is that is an incredible deal for what you're going to get out of this title. And I'm actually really looking forward to the conversation of all of you guys who haven't played the game yet, but are going to be grabbing it come the 6th. My name is Big Fry. Thank you guys for watching. Come through to my Twitch stream. We are streaming a lot of Starfield, and we're just having a good time over there with the cardboard cutout Todd Howard, dressing up like a fucking spaceman, and just enjoying a game this much for once. I gotta say, 2023 has been the best year that the gaming industry has had in a long time. And to wrap it up with Starfield, even though it's controversial, it's still a very solid game. And that is the review. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content just like this. I am back from New York. We are finishing up this subathon over on Twitch, and then I am getting into consistent content in September. I have just been streaming Starfield for the last 2 days. I am dead fucking tired, but I'm enjoying myself. Thank you guys for watching. My name is Big Fry, and I'll see you on the next one.